In this lesson, we're going to learn a 16th drum pattern. We're going to go over some of the parts from the last lesson. I hadn't realised that one of my menus had been cut off, so we're just going to recap some of that information just to make sure we can consolidate it here. So when we're setting up to record, we need to go to the Edit menu, come down to the Record Quantization, and then set it to 16s, okay? As said previously, I quite like the 16s, and for this particular drum pattern, we're definitely going to need it to be 16s or above, okay? So that's the first thing you need. Next thing, you need to make sure you've set up your drum rack, which is your instrument. I'm going to go for this one here again, and set up the actual clip that you want to record on. I then set my tempo to 100 just by clicking on it and typing in 100 and then pressing enter. And then I've turned on my metronome. And it's up to you whether you want to have a 1-bar count in or not. That's completely up to you. After that, you then come to the record clip button and start recording. So that kind of recaps everything that we said previously. Now, we're going to add some just kind of penciling in on this one. Unless you're a drummer, you're going to find starting off with getting the 16s in quite tough actually. So what I tend to do is I tend to either type them in, or I set my tempo, say 60 BPMs, just so that it's almost like playing 8ths in, okay? But let's just show you another tool. So let's show you the pencil tool. Now you can get to the pencil tool from this button here, just by clicking on it, and then coming over to your piano roll. And remember, I've got my piano roll by double clicking on the clip, okay? So that's the first way. The other way is the command cut B. So B toggles the pencil tool on and off, okay? So B turns on and off. Now for this, we're just going to find the hi-hat, which you can see it's that one highlighted red. And because it's 16s, and if you remember before, I've got my grid set up as 1 to 16. So all we do with the hi-hat button is we just type it in. Now if we just click once, it will fill the grid. Okay, so if you want it kind of a snappy one, you're going to have to cut this up. So another thing you can do is hover over the handle, and it turns to this kind of like bracket shape, and you can actually reduce the size of it. And I would definitely say that the hi-hats on this piece need to be what's called staccato, so they need to be shorter than what's written. Okay, another way is to click and drag. Let me just undo this. So another way is to click and drag, and if you click and drag, it will create all of them in one go. So watch this here. I click, hold it down, and then just drag, and you can see it creates all of my 16 notes. Now what you're going to notice is the velocities for all of these notes are exactly the same. So let's toggle out a pencil, and then you can see that they're exactly the same. And if you want to change the velocities, first what I would suggest to you is if you leave all of these selected, it's going to change them all, okay? So if you only want to change one, so you want to kind of create this accent on the first beat and then quiet on the after beat, which is what I want here, you can deselect them all, and you can loop select, which is just click outside of the box and then drag, and then you can make these inner ones quieter, or you can just select individual ones like this. So there's a couple of ways of just doing that, and this is quite nice. So you're going to have this accent on the first beat of every kind of 4. So let's just hear that. Press play and activate the clip. Now that was an important thing. You notice there, because my clip wasn't in focus, it didn't play. So that's important, that these things are not locked in together, and we'll get on to the reason for that later. But if for some reason that doesn't happen for you after pressing play, it's literally because your clip isn't activated. Now you can press the stop button down here to deselect all of them. Another thing you're probably noticing at this point is that it took quite a long time for it to stop. So I pressed stop and it was like, almost a lifetime before it stopped. And that's because of the global quantization, which is basically used for launching clips. So you can say the global quantization, if you want everything to be in time, is best to set to 1 bar. So we leave it set 1 bar. So when you click on it, it stops those clips exactly on the beat, okay, which is really handy if you're playing live. Okay, so we've penciled these ones in. Now let's do the hi-hat. So let's do the snare and bass drum. So they're exactly the same as the pattern before. So all we've got is 1, 2, 3, 4, just like before, and we're going to record these in again. So we've got our metronome on, we've set our tempo, we've got bar counting, we have the clip in focus. Now let's press the record clip button, so it records over the top of this clip. And remember again, we can leave this going until we're ready, or we can take it off of this and we can practice. Okay, so now we're ready to record. And I really must tighten up my my drum playing. Oh, they were miles out of time. Not to worry, but that's what this is all about. It's about practicing and getting this stuff perfect. Now, the only other thing I want to say about this is that you'll notice that we have it set to 1 bar, okay? Now, if we just quickly change this to 2 bar, I want to show you something else. You'll notice up here that we have 2 lines. The top line is your loop line, which is directly related to this button here. This second one is a start clip, end clip loop, okay? So we will get to that, but just to note that there are 2 different lines. Another thing that you may have noticed by now is when you hover over the ruler bar, you get this magnifier. Now this is really interesting, and it's a bit different than other software. With the magnifying glass up, if you click and drag down, it will zoom in, out, and if you drag upwards, it will zoom in, okay? Now, with that same magnifying, if you click and scroll to the left, it will move it along. If you scroll to the right, it will move it along the other way. Okay, so it works slightly different to most others, but you will find that in a lot of the windows, that wherever you've got a magnifying glass, it allows you to zoom or it allows you to scroll. Just like over here, the magnifying glass over here, if we go left and right, it zooms in and out. If we go up and down, so let me just get that back to normal. If we go up and down, it allows you to go through them. So slightly different to this one, but the same principles, that you have these 4 actions, up and down, left and right on the click. And that'll either be zooming or it'll be scrolling. Okay, so spend a bit of time, practice this part. And once you get confident enough, why don't you have a go at playing in those 16 hi-hats?